And look at their private lives, they are deteriorating to a degree as if they have gone down the drain all the way. And it is jihad which is needed to recapture them for Islam, to revive them for the sake of Islam. Which mullah is fighting that jihad? Show me this. Where? In which country? They're not concerned. Jihad Akbar, they don't leave it alone. It would be Jihad Akbar according to Rasulullah, not according to us. And then there is a Jihad Kabir, preaching of Islam to other people, to go to Europe, to Africa, to China, to Japan, and preach jihad, preach Islam. Udu ila sabili rabbika, that is the Jihad Kabir. You see, there is one Jihad Akbar, which is the jihad of purifying yourself and turning your own Satan into a Muslim. That is called Jihad Akbar. Second is jihad which begins when you become a preacher and call people to the path of Allah. According to the Quran, that is jahidhum bihi jihadan kabira. That is Jihad Kabir. They are not concerned with that Jihad Kabir either. But there is another jihad which Rasulullah described as Jihad Asghar. So they only see Jihad Asghar. But when it comes to test, they fail there as well. Because it's Jihad Asghar, as I have read in the Holy Quran, is only in the direction of the non-believers. You will never see the Holy Quran mentioning a Jihad Asghar in the direction of the believers within your society, by calling them less honest, hypocrite, bad Muslims. You start a war against them and call it a jihad. Nowhere will you find it mentioned in the Holy Quran. So the jihad they are, calling innocent Muslims to is not even jihad, because they tell, fight your own governments, satanic governments, evil things. Fight that sect in Islam. It has nothing to do with Islam. Fight that sect. Sunnis must kill Shias, Shias must kill Sunnis. This is the jihad. Now when you discuss this with them, you said you don't see. They are like infidels, like non-believers. But they go a step forward. He said they are worse than infidels, these people. And as far as their arguments is concerned, it is absolutely false and fallacious. The Holy Quran disproves it and rejects it. First of all, they say they are hypocrites. We don't know. Who knows who is hypocrite? Because a hypocrite is the one who has different things in his heart and different on his mouth, different on his lips. So they say he is a hypocrite. Maybe they themselves are hypocrites. We don't know. Allah knows best. But now I take you back to the Quran. Were there not hypocrites in the time of Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? Or were there? Was Holy Prophet informed by Allah himself or not that a lot of people who come from among the Bedouins, they are munafiqeen, they are not Muslims, and they say they have believed, they have not believed. Permit them to call themselves Muslims. We don't stop that. This is a fundamental human right to call one whatever one likes. But God informed him that they are not Muslims. Why didn't he wage a jihad against them? When did he do that? Not only that, people may say God had said they are hypocrites, but nobody knows. Allah tells Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, you know them from the signs on their faces. You know each of them. Yet he didn't. And there are people who were called chiefs of hypocrites. The greatest chieftain among them was Abdullah bin Ubay bin Salul. Not only Ahmad knew him, but everyone in Medina knew him. And he was referred to by Muslims, chief of the hypocrites has come. And when Rasulullah discussed him with Sahaba and somebody said he is a hypocrite, he never denied it. That is the most important thing. If in the sight of Rasulullah he had not been a hypocrite, he should have stopped everybody else. Don't call him a hypocrite, he is not. But he accepted. He was a hypocrite to a degree that while returning from a Jihad al-Asghar, before entering Medina, at one or two stops before that, he referred to Hazrat Muhammad as the basest, lowest man in Medina. He said, the noblest among them will turn this base man out of Medina when we return. This matter was reported to Rasulullah. Everybody understood what it meant. If Ahmad could not wage war against a hypocrite while he knew war must be waged, at least there were those who suggested it to him, sought permission from him. All right, Ya Rasulullah, don't kill him yourself for reasons best known to you, but let us. Umar was one of those. God bless him. But one after the other, when people approached Rasulullah for seeking permission, he rejected outright. Until the son of Abdullah bin Ubay bin Salul himself came and said, Ya Rasulullah, I know what's happening, permit me to kill my father. Because he insulted you. You cannot tolerate it. This is another example of how people were transformed. Waliyun Hamim, the son of the greatest hypocrite, had turned into a Waliyun Hamim. Rasulullah said, no, nothing doing. He was adamant absolutely. He said, what jihad was that? Don't they know the ulama of today? Was he not worse than the infidels? When the Holy Quran stopped Muhammad Rasulullah for saying his prayer, the other prayer. Previously he had said it, despite this injunction that you shouldn't say they are hypocrites. He said, if you, the Holy Quran had told him that if you had said istighfar for people like him, even 70 times, God will not forgive. What clearer injunction than that could be about the hypocrisy and God's anger against them? Yet when this man died, what sort of jihad that was? Rasulullah went to lead his janazah prayer. Hazrat Umar stood in his way out of respect, but he couldn't tolerate this. He said, Ya Rasulullah, don't you know? You know better. God has told you that they are hypocrites. And God has told you that even if you seek forgiveness for them, 70 times He would not forgive them. Is that right or wrong? Rasulullah said, right. He said, right, but leave me alone. Get away. I am going to leave the janazah prayer because if God would not forgive him for my seeking for forgiveness for 70 times, I will do it more than 70 times. What an excuse. He knew it was an excuse, but out of love for mankind, out of his kindness, he sought this excuse, knowing that Allah will forgive him. But then God told him specifically, all right, once. I looked away as if, out of love for you. I didn't stop you immediately. But from now on, you are not permitted even to stand at the grave of this man. If there were some agitators like Egyptian, Maulvi Ajibullah agitators or Algerian agitators, what would they have done that at that time? Imagine, tell me. They would have said, Muhammad doesn't know what jihad is. They don't know that they are the worst people than the infidels. So we'll do it if he doesn't know it. Can you accept it? It's impossible.